I've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers draft reaction. No, I've done that. Depth chart. I'll go through each kind of position and kind of see who will win each position and just kind of see what's happening. So the receiver position for the Buccaneers, yeah, Mike Evans, their number one receiver. Pretty good receiver. He's kind of overrated personally. Gets locked down by Marshawn Lattimore, the Saints cornerback, every single time they play, and it's done this thing again. So Mike Evans, personally a bit overrated. Like, not that good of a player. Just a jump ball receiver, really. Who does have good hands, but then the gloves that they wear nowadays, you can literally catch anything. So, not really that big of, like, something to get hype over him catching one-handed balls. Bro, I can't even do this.
What crash?
Look.
Why is that happening?
Oh, I can't do it. If it happens again, then we're screwed. For the second receiver, Chris Godwin, yeah, he's a pretty decent receiver. They franchise tagged him. He'll probably be their second receiver. Can also play in the slot if, like, they'll probably rotate him in there. Him and Antonio Brown probably work the slot. Antonio Brown's not listed here, but he did re-sign. He was just going through some legal stuff because, you know, all that stuff that happened with him. But him and Chris Godwin and Mike Evans probably be those three receivers. And it's kind of the people afterwards who you don't really know who's going to be that fourth and fifth receiver. They got Scotty Miller, who could definitely be that. I don't think Justin Watson is. He's all right, but probably not as a fourth receiver. And then you got Jalen Darden and Tyler Johnson. It'll probably be between these three. And those are three good receivers, I think. I think they could all, like, get significant playing time on another team that just wasn't really stacked at the receiver position like the Bucs are. I think Tyler Johnson has the best chance because he was really good when he came in at points. But I also like Jalen Darden as being a really good speed threat. I think he's better than Scotty Miller in that role. And Jalen Darden's a better returner also. So I think I'd personally like Jalen Darden to win that position. But Scotty Miller could definitely because more experienced. Scotty Miller's not a bad player. It's just I think that Jalen Darden's a better player overall and, like, has more potential. And then at the O-line, Donovan Smith, yeah, he's all right to be starting the left tackle. They could improve, but for a one-year starter, really, he'll probably only back for 1 year. You don't really want to let him go and have a big need at that left tackle because he can hold his own. He's all right. He's not amazing, but he can definitely start there. And Ali Marpet, as it just reloads again, because I don't know what's wrong with my computer. Bro. What the hell? What is wrong with this computer? This is just Apple ripping you off once again, because Apple are the worst company in the world. Stop buying all their overpriced products.
It's because it's an iMac.
What?
They're trash.
They're meant to be good. For the price you pay for them.
Well, they're trash.
Yeah, because Apple's trash. If you buy an Apple phone, then it's going to break in 1 year.
Is it?
Well, Mum just had to replace hers.
Yeah, but they're battery.
Exactly, so it broke.
I see yours break.
Mine hasn't. And Alex Kapp at the right guard. He's probably the biggest need on that O-line. He can be serviceable. But Aaron Stinney, when he came in, was actually pretty decent. I think he could start there. Even Robert Hainsey, the tackle that they brought in from the draft, he's probably more of a guard, but that's a really good backup if, like, injuries happen at tackle or guard. Even center he could play, like, just really versatile, good player. So I did like that pickup. Sedarius Hutcherson's not even bad as a center and guard rotational player. And Ali Marpet, he's a good guard, but he was injured at points last year, so you don't really know how reliable he'll be. Same with Ryan Jensen, like, he was a bit inconsistent, but he's fine there. And of course you got Tristan Wirfs, he's good. And then for the tight ends, Robert Gronkowski, yeah, he's your starter, good blocking tight end still. Doesn't offer much in the passing game besides in the red zone, which he can be very productive in. And then Cameron Brate at the other tight end is actually pretty decent. I don't mind Cameron Brate, good red zone threat. Same with kind of Rob Gronkowski, but can also is a good blocker. They just got two good blocking and kind of red zone threats at those tight end position. And then they got OJ Howard also, who's just more of that receiving tight end. Will offer more in that aspect. And I think he can play a big part if he doesn't get injured again. And then quarterback, of course, Tom Brady. He's your starter. And then the backup position, probably for that second quarterback, it'd probably be Blaine Gabbert. He was all right when he played against the Lions. He was actually pretty good. That was his only really chance to play. I guess we'll see more in the preseason. He's just more experienced. That's why I probably think he'll be that backup to Tom Brady. But they also have Kyle Trask. He's more of like a project for the future type of quarterback. Like you look to the future, he can eventually possibly be your starter if you see something good in him. And you will see if he's good in the preseason also, which is nice to have the preseason. So I like Kyle Trask pick. I think he can be a good quarterback, especially learning behind Tom Brady. That's in a pretty good situation. And then running back position, Ron Jones, Leonard Fournette. They're nothing special. They're just kind of average running backs. Like Fournette was good in the playoffs, but he's not like a Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, like any of those types of running backs. They're serviceable, but they're not going to be like top 10 running backs in the league next year or anything. They're just good running backs. I did like Giovanni Bernard pick up, good receiving back. They did have Keyshawn Vaughn, who they drafted pretty high last year, so he just kind of gets buried behind Giovanni Bernard like he was LaShawn McCoy last year. Won't probably get a lot of snaps. Giovanni Bernard, I think, will. In the passing game, you bring him in on like third down or something, you can throw him the ball. He's very good at that because he was good for the Bengals when he got a shot last year. So I do like Giovanni Bernard. So that's a pretty good backup. And then you got CJ Prosise. He's nothing special. He was more in the practice squad last year, just special teams running back kind of. And then the defensive end, Ndamukong Suh, he'll play defensive tackle more. He won't really be a defensive end. So yeah, he'll be our defensive tackle, but he's pretty good still. Definitely aging, but really good run stopper. I mean, they had the best run stopping like team for like the past 2 years. And Jeremiah Ledbetter is alright. I don't know why the Khalil Davis. He could probably be something. Not really going to give you much. Good rotational players. They could use more rotational players on that defensive line. Like they got Vita Vea. He's your nose tackle, big run stopper, really helps you in that aspect. William Golson offers a bit more in the pass rushing game, but not much. He's pretty good though. Like these guys are Ndamukong Suh and William Golson probably won't be here after next year. Maybe even Jason Pierre-Paul. So they will have to get some future players, and I don't really know if the players out of their roster can. They do have Steve McClendon. He's also a bit older though, just a good run stopper. They don't really have any pass rushers on the defensive line, like defensive tackle, just kind of big run stoppers, and it works for them because then you got those two productive edge rushers on the edge. So yeah, I mean Raheem Nunez Roches, he played a lot last year, and nobody really else can offer you much. So for the future, they definitely got to get somebody there because it's looking a bit thin for the Buccaneers. And then Jason Pierre-Paul on the edge, he's still good, still very productive. But they also got Joe Tryon, who they drafted last year in the first round. Eventual probably replacement. He probably won't get a ton of playing time next year. Just be more of a rotational pass rusher. He will get in for points, but he's quite raw. So I think starting him straight away anyway would just not really work out for him. I don't know how good he would be, but has all the physical traits to be a good pass rusher. And can learn behind some pretty good pass rushers also in Tampa Bay. So I didn't mind the pick of Joe Tryon. I think he can be a good player in the future. I don't know how much upside he has to be like a top 10 pass rusher, but I think he can be a really good, solid pass rusher in the league. Just because, I mean, he's already a really good athlete, so you just got to build off of that. As this thing reloads again, because it's dumb. Yeah, they also got Shaquille Barrett rushing the other edge. He's very good. Didn't have him much sack last year, but we kind of knew that because he was he broke the sack record last year. Not the record, was league leader, so you can't really repeat that because then, yeah. So, yeah, where is he? Shaquille Barrett. He'll be starting at the edge position. He's pretty good. And then still, they don't really have anybody behind them, like the edge rushers beside those three that I just said. There's kind of nobodies. And then linebacker, Devin White, Levante David, probably the best linebacker duo in the league. Two very good players. Levante David got a new contract. He is a bit older, but you got Devin White, who's young, really good middle linebacker, and like every single year it just seems to get better. So that's a good player. And also drafted two linebackers last year, KJ Britt and Grant Steward. Probably going to be more special teamers. I think Grant Steward could get some playing time. You do have Kevin Minter, who's kind of that third linebacker that came in at points. I think KJ Britt can definitely be that because I think that's kind of his role. I don't think he'll ever be a starting linebacker. Same with Grant Steward. So I don't really know what they saw because I don't really see starters in them. But I mean, for a team trying to go back to Super Bowl, you got good special teamers like Grant Stewart is a really good athlete, so you can definitely be that. So it wasn't horrible. There's not really starters, replacements for Levante David, I think. And then the secondary safety, Anton Wolf and Mike Edwards. Mike Edwards is backup. He's a pretty good backup, but of course you got Anton Wolf. He plays more like down in the box most of the time, covering tight ends. That's kind of more of his role, but he was very good at it last year, and I assume he'd probably get better next year, just with more progression and everything. And then they got Jordan Whitehead, who's an alright safety. He's pretty good free safety, but it's probably only their really weak point in that backfield, that back secondary, I mean, because he's just not really amazing. Like, next year maybe look to improve in the draft. That's why I thought like Trayvon Moore would be a nice pick for them. But sticking with Jordan Winfield's, you can definitely do it. And then corner, Carlton Davis, yeah, he'll be your outside corner. And then in the slot, you'll have Sean Murphy Bunting. They're both pretty good. Jamel Dean's probably your only really weakness. He kind of, out of all those three corners, got targeted the most because he was kind of just getting picked on because he's the worst of the bunch. But he's still very young. I do kind of worry about their secondary. Like, if they have any injuries to any of these players, you can have Ross Cockrell come in with John Franklin III, who was a freaking wide receiver before. So, I mean, you definitely see this team with the Bucs. If they stay healthy, they're going to make a big jump and hopefully try and get back to the Super Bowl, especially if they stay healthy. But if injuries happen at key positions, they don't really got good players to step in. Like, their depth is pretty good, but they do have some holes if people go down. So that will be a big need if players get injured. But overall, really good roster. Of course, they won the Super Bowl, so they're looking to repeat it. And